Damn, we're right into it. The last 2 days of class. Uh, there's some questions because we're putting dialogues together and also just general translation type of stuff. There's a whole bunch of words in English that work really well and like singular, sort of like justice and relentless. Like they're just great. And people ask you to translate them. At least they ask me. They're like, can you translate like our motto? And it'll be like these four words, like integrity. And like English, it works well to have those singular sort of words that describe these. And sometimes in Tlingit it does. But also I guess I would say Tlingit tends to describe people. Um, I guess you're not always describing what you expect people to be, but there's verbs for saying like you're not that way, which is I guess it talks more about if you're out of line than what to do to stay in line in terms of like social expectations. It's sort of a generalization, but anyway, so the question was relentless. And then this is tied to another question about how would you make both repetitives in terms of if you look a verb up, so the na conjugation repetitive is going to have you for the preverb and K as a suffix. So like you, kayatunk is a great example. And if we just go look at it, you'll see things with the double K, but this is the only repetitive that also has a plus I. So if you had this, and we look at some of these examples, uh, and this, everybody sings that song to Hate Well, a lot of people do. It's a great song. But when you really read that speech, it's very intense because he uses this verb a number of times, saying we've already given up on it for ourselves. So like what Kitchener was talking about in 1980 was they had already sort of resigned to the fact that the language was going to be lost, which was going to be lost. But then they sort of came around. And then there was a couple, like this one was a really interesting sample sentences for a number of reasons, I thought. So when you say tuwatee, like sometimes you'll say wasa tuwatee. Wasa tuwatee can mean how are you feeling emotionally, but it could also mean what do you want? And so it's some of the folks that were teaching me were saying it could sound kind of invasive or kind of off-putting a little bit. But the nice thing about tuwatee is you could say ach tuwatee noun day. I want to go there. Ach tuwatee hunna day. That's you don't need a verb. You don't need a second verb for that. I want to go to Huna. Hundaka hitite ach tuwatee. I want to go to the store. And so it is nice when you're learning Tlingit to it's not a shortcut, but sometimes it's nice to just be like, oh, I don't even need a verb. Okay, I'll take it because we do intense stuff with verbs, and every now and then you're like, huh. And so here you have got kaha, which is probably a noun form of the verb. I don't know. Because like it's not conjugated at all, right? Like you could say ach tuati got kakwahayi, which I think you can do, but the thing with tuati, I guess tuati is a verb, but it doesn't always act like one. Then when you say ach tuwu out I feel like giving up. So these are things like learning how to use ach tuwu and ach tuwati. They're they're great at saying I want or I feel like. And so it's achtuyeti, that's how I feel. And so sometimes you can have a verb and then you have achtuwu before it. And in this case, auchachach, which usually has something that you're giving up on. Even if you say auchachach, I'm giving up on it. So I guess I would say, now the question is whether we keep the on there. So if you said you, or I guess you could say the cut at you ashachachka. They give up on everything, right? But then if you say the cut at you, and then you would have, I think you would have a wuchachk. And so you would usually get an irialis there, and you would get the classifier would go minus I. And so those are the two steps that you're going to usually do. Is the class for all the others, for ga, and zero, they don't have a plus I classifier in the repetitive. And going a negative repetitive is something I'll have to do some research and put in Conjugator 8.0 so that we can sort of have those prefixes built for us. Any other questions? Things you're thinking about?
Not specifically on that, but I know that there's two rules that I know of for why classifier loses its vowel. You know, the one that was when we were just talking about, like the long vowel right before it will lose it, but then I know another one about like a plus D minus I or like something like that, but I can't quite remember what that rule is.
Okay. Well, let's see. So I guess here, let's go here. So there's a slideshow called Prefix Contraction Basics, which I've realized I need to turn this into a chapter, and it's going to be confusing. Because usually I just sort of talk through all of these things. But what I think I'm realizing is there's a lot of confusion around like just how to absorb the sort of prefix building mechanisms for Xingget. And so to kind of just briefly revisit the classifier, we have 4 groups. All of those groups are kind of associated with meaning. So, but this is the default. This is often classifying something, like it's a type of thing. And so it's putting the classification system into place, which is probably why it's called a classifier to begin with. And then L can often say it has one of those things. So like goose, the weather has clouds. Shijini, I don't know what could have. It could have. What shijini would mean that it has arms. I don't know what you could say would have arms. We could say ah. It's a hat that has ears. So if you had a hat that had little dog, a goofy hat or something, it says he's a dog, yeah, his ears. And then SH is sort of negative kind of things, usually. And then S and L also share this thing where they're saying, well, sometimes we pop up when somebody's making the thing happen and not just it's that way. And so that's generally how the categorization of the classifier works. The classifier can do 2 things within its group. I would say this top left is the default form. So I would say the classifier is 0, sa, sha, sha. Those are your 4 classifiers in Xingget. Now it can go plus I, which means it would go to ya, si, shi, shi. And it does that. What I'm seeing is for 3 reasons. One is to say, yes, that verb did happen. 2, to say that verb could potentially happen. And 3, that verb repetitively happens for a na conjugation. Like it gets, the first one makes sense to me. It's like when I'm like, okay, sure. And the third one, I'm like, whatever, I'll just accept it. And then it can also go plus D. Some verbs are just naturally plus D, but it is usually doing one of 2 things. The subject is also the object, so it's introducing middle voice. So you see yourself, you talk to yourself, you study, you teach yourself. Or if you have an object and a subject, and for some verbs, you are kicking the object out of there. So awaka, they sewed it. Wudiqa, they were sewing. So it becomes an action-focused type of thing. So The plus D minus I classifiers never have a vowel. So there will always be S, L, and SH. This can create confusion because there's another rule for Tlingit prefixes, which this is the rule. If there is a consonant, there must be a vowel every time. That is a foundational part of a Tlingit prefix. What does that mean? So we were looking at something today, which was, you could say shtu, tush, tu, nooch. I always study. And I could say shtu, tush, tu, nooch. We always study. And I could say shtu, ich, tu, nooch. You always study. What would the third person be? They always study.
Two, with the two.
Oh wait, hold on. I did that wrong. Let me
Do.
let me redo that. Hold on 1 second. Okay. I forgot. Because I was doing the transitive version of it, which was, so this is what I should have done. Shtu at kashtu nooch. Okay, now I'm ready. I had messed that all up. So the ut thing is the important part. Let me move this to okay. Shtu at tu nooch. Shtu at ich tu nooch. Shtu at ich. Okay, so this is I, we, you, y'all. Now what? That would be fourth person. Yes, people always study. Stu. So as far as like, and if we sort of do this thing where we say, okay, what do we have here? We have cha. Well, we got to keep the ut here. So let me do a little bit of work here. I'll also color, we're going to drop the nooch part because let's just focus on what we see in the verb. Okay, let's see. Mocha. I'll tell you all my color scheme here. The stem is mocha. The classifier is grape. The subject is maraschino. Is that like a cherry? And then the object is aqua. Okay, so let me get rid of that. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to go through how this thing should be changing. So there was, oops. Okay. So this change, we went to tu, we went to I, we went to y, we went to du. What's left? 0. Okay, so there's a couple of rules at play here. Tu and I both have the same rule. We are short unless there's no vowel in the classifier, so we must both be long. So what am I going to do here? If we just followed the rules as we know them,
We're
that's
gonna not drop the A, right?
what's that?
We're gonna not drop the A.
There is no A because the ut is there. Whoops, which I dropped. So there is a consonant there. So now there must be a vowel. What will it? It won't be a.
Because you said that there's supposed to be a Oh, that was a different, I was thinking there was supposed to be an aerialis, but that's a different role we were talking about.
Tlingit does have a default peg vowel. So when you say, I just need a vowel, I just need a vowel,
It's an I is the peg vowel, isn't it?
we'll always offer I. So this is what you have. And so this is really interesting. Stu at each two nuch exactly the same. But you'll get it from context. And it's pretty rare. I think it's rare that there is absolutely no vowel and then you have to insert one. But you'll find it if you go look up salmon being discolor or changing their color in the water in the verb dictionary, which we can go look at for an example. And then we'll come back to the other vowelless classifiers. So in the verb dictionary, I think it's under color. I should know this because it's an important word in our class. So if we go down to color, we have zikak for a salmon to change its color in the fresh water. Qat with zikak, no problem. We're gonna write this short in the retype of this. It's short and high, which tells you it's zero conjugation. But then we see a repetitive here. So the repetitive for the zero, you add an underline X, the classifier goes minus I. So the classifier here is just the letter S. That's not you. If I were talking to you and you were a salmon, I could say, you regularly change your color, salmon. But in this case, it's just a peg vowel. So coming back, the other thing about this, so looking at our class, like we should be able to tell like what the classifier is and what it should be. For perfectives, it has to be on this side. It has to be one of those. So you'd say, when you say uwagut or huagut, you're getting that right there. When you say wudaka, they sowed. When you say ausaku, that's what you get. When you say shchudzatin, I saw myself, that's what you get. When you say aushatin, that's what you get, right? And say shtu atwutlitu, they studied something. That's what you get. Let's see, aushaguk, they know how to do it. They learned how to do it. That's it. Atwujakain. So if those did happen in perfectives, has to be those. So when you get to these, so if it's plus D and if it's a non-zero, it's gonna just be kind of wild. So you'll say Chengit shtukakwastu. It will only be the letter L there, right? Or you could say kakwashhid. I'm gonna write later. I'm gonna write something. I kick the object out. But the other thing is if sa, sha, and sha are the only classifiers where you could knock that letter A out of there. If any of these things, athematic, aerialis, na conjugation, qa in its uncontracted mode, not as an underline X, the perfective marker, daqa, any of those will kick that vowel out if there's nothing between them and the classifier. So that's why you'd say awasku, kesh awasku, and kesh awasi. So that's why you do those things, is because those things touch that classifier and it cancels that letter A out of there, just kicks it out.
Would be an example of the plus I not being contracted in Southern dialect.
Would have to go, okay, well, would have to look at, I think I have a typed version of Duktu, so hold on, let me go find. So if you are studying Southern Tlingit, especially Haina, and you want to bring it back, you will find, let's see, they like, so if you think that dropping the A thing is wild, you go down to Haina, like, we'll drop an I. We don't care. We party hard. This thing is wild. Okay, so let's find one. That's such a good story. It's not worth reading over and over and over. But if you go in here, there's one. That is the letter TL as a classifier, folks. So how would you say that in Northern Tlingit? Yeah, think about it.
Awiki.
Well, you would restore the vowel, which would change the contraction.
Awiki.
So yeah, so qin would still be there, going backwards, kli, and then you would now just have outqin. So you would not, so this is uncontracted right here because you have three things there, but only two of them have vowels. So there's no contraction needed. But I don't know the rules on when they do that. I don't know. And so like I could leave that there. And I'm not trying to correct anything. I'm just saying like this is a big part of the dialect. Like if you wanted to speak Southern Tlingit, you can absolutely. And there's two things you're gonna have to do as a falling tone. So sometimes you'll say so it goes ow. So it goes, it's up and then down on the long highs. And then you'll also have several more of these. How would we say that one? Yosaka. And so they're just dropping plus I, which for Northern Tlingit, I think it feels like it's a technical foul. It's illegal. But like it is a part of Southern Tlingit, and it's really interesting. So I think if you want to understand that, this is your story to go through. And there are other recordings of Southern Tlingit. There's recordings of Clara Parachovich. There's recordings of other folks. I'm not sure who. I'm sure there's others of Kayaaní. Okay.
You know what doesn't make sense to me is that peg vowel going long, because I just don't hear it that way. Like, I mean, and I'll give you just the one example from Frank Dick, but Yan Shisni Awe Tsa Gune Awat. Like, I'm sure he is not going to say Yan Shisni Awe.
Right.
So I mean, and other examples, I don't, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. It doesn't make sense to me from what I've seen or what I've heard, but maybe there are examples where it does go long. Eh? I don't, but
Yeah, and so it could be that for sure. I thought I heard it long. We're working with Kayaaní today, and so we'll check it out. But yeah,
okay.
this is something. This is really fun stuff. It's getting out into the outer limits of the Tlingit rules that we have documented, which is fun. Advanced Tlingit is very fun to teach because we don't go where no person has gone before, but we go where other learners maybe. We just go a little bit further than the other learners. I just like to laugh because there's a program here that does a lot of cool stuff, hiking and camping. And every now and then they'll get a student who'll say, well, where do you guys want to go? We do a big like end of the year trip. And every few years someone will say, I want to go where no one has ever gone before. It's like, well, go to space. I don't know what to tell you because people have been all over on Earth. It's like 10,000 years and people really walked around. So, okay, other thoughts or questions?
I have one
Oh,
that's really unrelated to what we're talking about. I went to the like lunchtime Tlingit class that like Tlingit and Haida does the other day. And it was like Anna Clock teaches it, and Shirley Kendall, I think, is the elder that's there. And we were going through how to say like hunt, like someone's hunting for something without saying what it is. And we were going through these dialogues where it was using a tune to be like he hunted it, and she was correcting it to ut tune. Um and I was just curious about that. And if like and then I looked at the Tlingit verb dictionary, and there was a tune for both she's hunting and she's hunting it.
hmm,
Um, but Shirley really wanted it to be ut so that you're not naming what you're talking about.
okay.
Yeah, and so I was just curious.
Yeah, there are some verbs that have uh this one has well, there's two. This one is really interesting. So there's different patterns in terms of the way verbs have a transitive and non-transitive version. So where there's something you're doing it to, and then others you're just doing. Like for example, shtu ashtu. They are studying it. So we know what it is. They're studying Tlingit, they're studying math. We're naming us, there's a specific thing in there. But you say shtu at, uh, shtu at iltu. I had to do it again. Then you say they are studying, right? Just studying, they're just studying something. So the something really works there. In this case, this one can have an athematic, which means this will always be there. So if you look at when it starts to conjugate, achatun, itun, atun, atutun, the is always there. And that just means to hunt. Like I'm hunting, I'm going hunting. And you're not, there's no thing that you're naming there. You're just focused on the action. The other one now has a transitive version, which gets confusing because if you look at the third person here, ashun, they are hunting. And if you look at the third person down here, you have ashun, they are hunting it. So there's no, with the third person, it's impossible to tell. It really is. If you go through all the different ways that the verb modes, it'll be identical. But you can also, what this doesn't show is that you can also change the object. So you could say, "Khatun," they're hunting me, which I don't know, it's the Hunger Games or whatever. But the other thing you could do is you could change that to ut to say, they are hunting something. So you could say, "At khatun," I'm hunting something. That is one way to not name what you're hunting. And so that is, it keeps it transitive. You could also say achatun. Those are, if you ask me, those are kind of doing the same thing. And then if you wanted to kick it like old school and say, well, we don't even talk about hunting because they're going to know we're coming, you could say atkakwagut. And then you might say, look for something I can see, or you might say, I'm going to go among the Ruakan. So there's different ways to sort of say that.
So I guess with if you were gonna say un, that can mean like she or he is hunting something, and you wouldn't need like a pronoun in there, like the who's hunting pronoun.
Well, any one of these you could have, so all of these have a third person object on there.
Okay.
You can all
Yeah.
have fourth person non-human as well. You could say at chatloon, at it,
Mhm.
or at eatloon, at tloon, at tutloon, at yeetloon, has at eatloon, and at dutloon. I guess that would just be tloon. At tloon, yeah. I don't know why I put a peg vowel. That's a good question. Okay. There's
So wait,
oh, go ahead.
when you're done, I have a question, but I think you're still on the same subject and mine's different. So
Okay, just one more. You could also say a schiet de kukwagoot, which technically means, I think it means I'm gonna go beneath the forest floor. And that's a inland way, maybe. Although a bit long time ago, more people said it. And it just says, I'm gonna go hunting. But then it's a place instead of a verb. What's the other question?
we talked earlier about how to say, I'm always studying.
Mhm.
How would you flip that negative and say someone is never studying?
Without being judgmental. Yeah, so let's
We'll
go.
go with yes.
Okay.
Or, the parent who's complaining about their child who never does chores or never studies or whatever.
Yeah, well, so I would say when we look at these things, so like we go to look for, so one is whether they're studying it, they're not studying it, or they're not studying anything. So this is the case where if you're going to use the ut here, which technically like this one and this one, they're just the same verb. But if you put ut in here, that's the way you sort of lock up the object pronoun. And it does change the meaning. So you say, I'm going to study later, as opposed to I'm going to study economics later. So we'll start with having a transitive version. So we should have something down there like stu ich tuch is what I would predict. And let's see. Oh, then we have stu ach tuch. Okay, because there's an object there. Stu ach tuch. So here you'd say kesh stu uch tuch. So you would have two O's right there. And then the rest would all stay the same. So what you need to add is the kesh in front of this. And then this, the irialis gets added, which pushes this to a double O. Keshtu ushtu. But like that on its own means they don't study it. But if you put tuk in front of it, they say chakuk away keshtu ushtu. No, chakuk away keshtu ushtu. They never study it. Never. And so if we go up and we look at this one, we should be getting a peg vowel there. And it's probably going to be short, like chikuse. So that's the case. We'd say kesh shtu at. It would probably would go long because it's going to gobble up the irialis. Keshtu at iltuch. But we got to be careful because then you might be it might sound like you're accusing the person you're talking to. You're just trying to complain about someone else. Like, what'd you say about I study all the time? Okay. Good question. But yeah, I will work on the negative repetitive prefix. I guess that's the next thing to put in there. And the negative, technically, I don't have the negative imperfective in there. So watch for the conjugator version 9.0 coming this summer.
Do you have the consecutive in the latest mode of or the latest iteration of the conjugator?
I don't think so. I don't know if I think I have to get the rules down. Yeah, so I'll probably put it right under here and have the
Because that would be
potential.
super helpful as I'm struggling through trying to read stories.
Right. Well, I do think it's going to be easy to do though, because really you have, it seems to me this is because there's a number of different modes that aren't in here. And it's interesting because whenever you put a mode in there that activates the conjugation prefix, that means you're going to add like 16 pages to this thing just automatically, which is fine. And sometimes it's going to be more than that. However, I think it's usually worth it. So one of them is the consecutive, which means you're going to have the conjugation prefix activated, a -I classifier, and I think you're always going to have a long high stem. So you could say Nakhata'awe after I slept. Right. And so it is, even though it's sort of like adding the 15th mode or whatever, however many we're up to now. And so there is like a mental strain of adding so much stuff, but it's also one of the easier ones. It's pretty straightforward. Like we were looking at one, well, for example, if you know to say gaigwash is to hit the drum, right? So if we go, let's just look at some of these verbs. If we go back into here and we say gouache is to stab or punch or hit a drum. And we go find that and we say it's right here. So if this is ga, then I would expect ga gouache. But what's interesting there, that is exactly ga gouache is how you say hit it. But I do believe the consecutive here, which I don't know, I don't think it's in this database. I would expect it to be ga gouache, but you get it from context. If someone's telling you a story and they're talking about somebody picking up a drum, and if they say ga gouache, you're not going to grab a drum and start beating it, right? Like, I don't think.
How would you tell the difference between like if you were to beat something or stab like something? Or is it just contextual, like what the subject is?
Yeah, I mean, you would have, like, if you said, if I was telling you about what satin, like, wait, what? You'd want more information, right? Because it's like I saw that guy, and then, but they also some people say, some elders would say, I'm gonna gwash you. Like that would be like Klingish slang sometimes. But usually, I guess there is a couple ways. Like it's hard to tell if you're stabbing or beating a drum. But if you're punching someone in the face, at least you get yeah in there. So that's how, because if you say cake gouache, I'm like, okay, that's probably a good thing. But if you say K, well, this one it's ga to ya. So then you say yak gouache. Like, let's just talk about it first. So,
Could you say something like, if you said something like, shita tingagwa should be like, you're imagining them stabbing it, but if you say
Yeah.
something like, jin, well, actually, can you say like a body part and then tin, and then the verb, like doing it with that body part?
yes.
Okay.
You say do jin tin.
Yeah, so
You
you're
say that. You could say do chus tin. You could say do chus tin gao our gouache. They hit the drum with their feet. But yeah, if you had guasha or shita, I'm gonna think that someone's got stabbed. But also like this is the stabbing verb, and then there's a different verb to be. Some of them they have a difference, like you say chash, that's to cut everything that's not a person. So if you cut a person, it switches to a different verb. Okay.
Khataya.
Uh,
Um, movie quote jiwu yijias need to walk Seguini. Excuse me. Did I say that right? Like if you want to say if you like, need to walk Seguini. Okay. Okay.
Josh, each hash.
Ega ach ja. Oh, chagudach yata. Ega ach ja. Lis adat stuka chashti.
Yake.
Ikuge?
Hasaku chakudachai. Kashkatin hasakudacha. Yehwaji. We. Yisikuge?
Tuyayanaka. Ega ach ja. Lis adat stuka chashti. Or gwell lis ach dat usti.
Achuha uchchetin. Yehwaji yudu asakwe. Kuyaudahan. Achuha uchchetin. Yehwaji.
Ready? Tuyayanaka.
Achuha uchchetin.
Yuck. I was just wondering how you would say it, or anyone else. So
Oh.
that's frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, I like that. Yankuk or Eka for truly. You have to tune team, but it gets long if you start doing that. Frankly, that's like just to be like, so to be frank means to just like say it plainly, right? So I guess that'd be yada tune. So yada tune is interesting. I think Eka works as well, but it sounds like truthfully, yada tune yada tune. I don't know how you'd say it. So yet the tune yuchatangi would be like plain, like just say it. Right. And a lot of the stuff is contextual too. Because you say yet the tune ka, that's an honest person. That's what it means, like a straightforward person. But sometimes you could say yet the tune they just spoke right to it. Because it means straight ahead, that's what it really means. But yeah. Kesh adat ach tuqa. What was it? Kesh Keshtuqa chat ushte. That was it, right?
Yeah, well, I had chashte. I got that one from Shkuyeth, who got it from Anya Tahal.
Oh, Keshtuqa chashte. Is that it? Okay. Okay. And then Kesh adat chat ushte. I think Kesh adat chat ushte is I don't care about that. And then Kesh shtuqa chashte. Well, I think the way that the person translated that was piss on that. I don't care. It's the direct opposite of being grateful.
I have one. Ne, yan kagu. Just in case I'm butchering the
Yakaku, maybe yakaku. So like, hey, get walking. Is that what it is, or what?
I'm walking.
Oh.
I'm walking here.
Uh,
I'm walking here.
nee. Yen chugat yak. Okay.
Yeah.
Yen chugat yak. Well, you gotta do it in like a New York accent, I guess. John. Nee. Yen chugat yak. As close as I can get. That's so a taxi driver again.
Yeah. 1969.
How? I saw do a song quick.
Oh, sorry, my bad. No, not taxi driver. Midnight Cowboy.
Taxi driver would be Khatilatinke.
Oh, you must be looking at me.
Oh,
Yeah. I guess. Okay. Gonna cheese. Got my older movies mixed up. Any others?
Shush clash kruste. Shush clash kruste.
Shush. Shush clash kruste. Yisekuge. I
I was trying to say the line from the Matrix. Because like I feel like there is no spoon, like translating that more directly wouldn't like give the meaning. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Spoon doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember that part. I remember
the part with the bald kid and like in the apartment is like, oh, there is no spoon, and then he like manipulates the spoon. And then...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess I haven't seen that in a long time.
You guys know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not going crazy, right?
Yeah, that's not a very famous line. No.
Neo. Dakasa cookie nude. But I don't know what he actually says. I just know there's a red one and a blue one. I'll watch it again so I believe this is.
I think he's got to pick either the red or the blue.
Okay.
Take the green pill or the blue pill. Take the blue pill and you stay in Wonderland. Wait, no, take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland. I forget. Like,
yeah, that cookie.
It's really there.
That's a.
The red pill is to see what's really real.
Oh.
And the blue pill is to stay in the dream.
Nak ni nutni just juni tuke equity. Kanyachiti at koa ega at kakisaku. Yeah, I'll be a Tlingit screenwriter after this. Okay, what's cheese?
Curious. Speaking of, I totally forgot that there was a Tlingit Macbeth.
Oh yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out where there's like recordings or what do you call it? The script for that.
There's a movie, which they showed. I think they're gonna try and show it again. They should have got a bunch of actors who were in it, done a panel, because a lot of us were in town. I think there was maybe 7 of us that were in town. So there is a recording of it, at Alaska Heritage Institute somewhere. And if you go into, let's see if I can find it. In the Tlingit curriculum folder, under translated works, you will find Tragedy of Macbeth, which
So young.
let's see. What kinsanas kinach which kage ha kagtaha hate tuk seal kachu each jage. Nawaya ayata. Atawuk yan shaw shcheni. Atawuk shaw to tlaki. Kachu yaw to tlaki. Kakanyanach he should quit. Guksa which handikach to the art. The key ye Macbeth tin ach awe. Wait the yan chakut. Hicht do ach. Ayuk. Ekech uskekach. Shuskeyake. Wushich ech uts ek tuch. Yak kitakin. Okay. That's fun. There's two versions. There's this one, and then there's one. I don't know where mine is. And so I think they are, I don't know, it's been a long time. I don't know if there is a big difference between these. Maybe just in the layout. Okay.
Did you put a link in the chat?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that was fun.
Now, sheesh.
I have an attempt at a movie line too.
Oh, you
Might
can.
have been done already while I was not in while I was out of class, but Flesh ade at ik agach duwahini ye.
Sige naka.
Flesh ade at ik agach duwahini ye. Put it in chat. But I probably have all the pre-verb pieces in the wrong order, but
Kwasikuta sawe. Wait, Dakia the high sexual claw. Kwasiku.
I know we've done the movie before,
Oh, you can.
but
Kesh ade at ik agartuhiniya.
No way I can believe it.
ah,
Oh, I can't believe it.
Can't believe.
no, click.
People can't believe something.
It's unbelievable.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
Ah,
Well, I guess that would have to be people can't understand it. Wouldn't that be to conceive something? We really get into it's fun to get into the weeds with like movie and play and stuff.
Wow.
Because then
It's
you
like
gotta,
the response to that is, I don't think that word means what you think it means. So
oh. So ye ne cage. Ye what you talkini sekudasak show ko awe you katank. What's he say after that? I don't know.
Is that like Kusachan, Ega Kusachan, that really goofy priest that was overseeing the
Yeah. Wait, his whole thing was like his W's, right?
marriage.
marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage is what brings us together today. I don't know. Okay, how do you do sing it with a lisp?
Well, yeah, I think. Well, the thing that's the R to a W substitution, which works really well for Shinget. But then we'd have to say, but that's sort of the comedy point there is the way he says those things, right? And I also like the voice that he does. So, because you whoosh with the shy. Actually, whoosh kanach with the art ya yagi. I don't know what you changed to make that part to make it fun. Like I guess he wouldn't be able to say. I don't know. That's tricky. It's delicate. Okay, let's do another dialogue. So here we did a dialogue the other day. I don't remember all the parts of it, but I will say now it's two people meeting at a coffee shop. One of them was there on time, one of them was 20 minutes late, and now they start talking, and we cannot repeat anything that we said the last time. Although I don't remember everything we said last time. Well, I know we said wasa'iyati. Gotta start different.
Wasaish.
Well, like okay, when they first see each other, one's was sitting there waiting 20 minutes for someone to show up.
What aqua?
We go ishtin. Look at the time. Would that be it?
Yeah, so this is the person who's late. So
Okay.
they got to respond first. Okay, they got to respond to this thing first, and then we could do that. So that'll be first, second.
What's the cook?
What did I say?
Okay, I think Goody. I don't know how to say like it's good you like finally made it.
Oh, okay. Two ways. Let's see. It's not. Oh, yeah. So they could have to separate them. Toyeka. Dehua is the inland equivalent. Hat iagut is you made it.
Dane Quata. F in front of that.
Oh, geez. Should we have an excuse here or a reason? It's not an excuse, it's a reason.
Traffic.
I'm late for a lot of things, so I can't think of an excuse. Wait, they tlach. I say kautzedik. Okay, what's that saying?
The road was really I think I want to say like plugged up or something. It was yeah, it was as if a lot of cars were driving on it or something. Every car.
Okay. Oh, it's getting hot, huh? We're going with compassion, anger.
You didn't call me?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
You didn't call me? You didn't text me?
Is that a cat? Douche do achcheke.
Oh, I was driving.
Itchy.
Those could also be wanach soe. Wanach soe kesh. You would drop the ge. And so this is saying, did you not call me? Or you didn't call me? Question mark, I guess. Did you not call me? You could also get real fancy there and say kesh ge de ach ji, but you know, was there no way you could call me?
I feel like that would be Jewish mother guilt.
Was it impossible for you to call me?
Ah,
Achoe ach kachwes at.
Okay. Take a toowú. And then what if we said ikahwe?
Obsessive.
And then you'd have wusi at.
Wusika.
It's become cool.
Is I thought that ye had like a similar rule to day where it goes high if the last syllable was low. Is that not right? Like in ikahwe.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sheesh.
Okay.
Coin. Say a new one.
Dessa?
I'll buy a new one. Kakwa.
Oh.
He's
And then what if they want to say, because now you feel guilty? How would I say, do you want anything? Or
that's a good guy.
or what if I said, can I buy you something?
The first one be chadasa itwasigoke.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say there is, do you want anything?
So I'm hearing can, and my brain is going into potential mode, and I'm not sure if that's right.
Well-
Other than hugely complicated.
Okay, so how do I say, can I help you?
Coucher idashi. No.
Eat. Ge. Hadashi.
She.
So you go with a hortative. I think let me try and there's another one in the beginning Tlingit workbook, which is, let me find it so I could show you folks. There it is. Well, and so I guess sort of thinking about how these generally work. So here we have let me do something for you. So if we said, okay, there's our sort of model, I'm not exactly sure why there's a relational sort of on there. So let's say yes, which is sort of like as far as how we can do this. So we know we're going to have yes, hortative buying, right? So then we're going to go, we're not going to, if you're looking at the verb database, don't open it yet. We'll go to oo, don't click on the yellow. Or I guess, don't click it yet. So then we go down here to oo for buy. Okay. Predictions. Let me buy it. I can tell you, so you got OS. Okay, so let's do this. Let me copy this. And then let me paste it here. Okay. So now to construct the hortative here. So then the hortative is going to want, okay, so if I want to say, let me buy it, what kinds of things am I going to have here? I'm not looking for the fully contracted version. Just tell me what to put in there.
Future.
It's a hortative.
Okay.
So tell me the components that need to be in there. What's the first?
No.
Is na. Before that, there is a zero object. There's qa. Two more things in the prefix.
Maybe another zero.
Yeah, wow.
Zero classifier.
And then I would expect that to be long and low. So when you put those together, na, qa, kha. These two love to do one thing together.
Become a ka.
Ka.
Does it also need a woo at the end? suffix?
I don't
Or is
know.
that just,
I don't know. I don't fully understand why that's there. So here I would probably say a yes at naqa'u. That's what I would say. And I could try and figure out why that suffix is there. I don't really see a reason for it to be there, but also those were written by probably Nora and Fred White. So I'll just say I don't understand. Let me buy something for you. So this is where the fourth person object does something really interesting. Because I could say but we are looking at a specific thing. Like you see this pair of gloves, you just really like them. Let me buy that for you. Let me buy you something. I guess I would say can I buy you something? Okay. Okay. I feel like we've made amends. Well, we gotta, okay. Yis'aqaqwa'u. Yes. Okay. What do they ask?
kahwe, hot kahwe. Forgot how to say hot.
Ayi.
Dai.
Kahwe. Ka. Wak. Ka. Woosh. Sakne. Coffee and a donut.
Wakahush. Is that like sweet bread?
There's an I on it. There's
I see.
an I hole.
Ah,
What is the difference between saying "Yatai kahwe" and then "Yata kahwe"? Could you like flip where the suffix is?
Well, for this suffix is turning the
Mm-hmm.
verb into an adjective.
Mm-hmm.
So it works well. So yata, you could say yata kahwe, and you're saying the coffee is hot. Yatai,
Or like but if you put the suffix on kahwe, would that mean like would that also connect them in a different way, I guess is what I'm asking.
well, because it's a noun, you could say that coffee belongs to heat. So I
Okay.
don't think it would make sense. Yatai kahwe. You could put a different noun in there. You could say ah kahwe yata. My coffee is hot. And you could also say ah yatai kahwe. My hot coffee. But I feel like you would need a noun to own that coffee in order to put the suffix on there. Okay. Sheesh Klein. I'll get together one more time and just Monday we'll probably just smash out a bunch of verbs. We'll just end on a big old verb smash party. And then if you have any questions about your dialogues, feel free to ask them. Any thoughts or questions before we go?
When are we reading the dialogues out?
Wednesday. So 1 week from today. Our
Okay.
final class meeting. Whatever you read, be perfect. Don't stress, don't worry. Just write something up. Just to make it a much more substantial conversation than these two that we've done, which have been just fun exercises. And also like reach out through email if you want, or post it on the Discord if you're looking for any help with anything. Nothing ever needs to be perfect here. Just do the thing and you'll be just fine. We'll record it, but we won't share it with anybody outside of our group.
Can you clarify like ballpark at least? What do you mean by like a little more substantial? Like it's page.
2 pages would be nice. 2-page minimum. It's a 2-minute. So in screenwriting, one page is about 1 minute. So if you watch a movie that's 2 hours long, it's probably a 120-page screenplay. It's kind of cool how that works. So feel free to showcase your acting skills if you want to. If you want to hire a partner to read your dialogue with you, feel free to do that. Have fun with it. We won't see each other for a little while after this, so I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Erkush kende, tia kwasatin, mushikartusti.
Toyay kwasatin.
Mushkart.
Jagen.
Sheesh.